My name is Andrew Fuqua. I'm the VP of Products at ConnectALL. What I have to say about tooling up a broken value stream is based on my experience, of course, and so that you can understand where I'm coming from, the context that I have in mind, let me first describe my background. So I spent the first 10 years of my career working in IBM's networking hardware division. It was a big organization, big projects, plan-driven stuff. But during that time, I was also introduced to test automation and actually iterative and incremental as well late in that decade because I worked in a pre-extreme programming team of small talk programmers. The next decade, starting in '99, I was working in internet security systems and then later on an enterprise point of sale system. I worked in extreme programming teams, a few different extreme programming teams during that time. During the 2010s, I was a lean agile consultant. I was working with very large organizations, and most notably during that period, I was working with the premier agile consultancy called Leading Agile. Through all this experience, I've seen big organizations that were struggling with their org complexity attempt to tool their way out of it. I'm assuming that if you're here, there's probably some complexity in your organization. You don't just have one or two Scrum teams. You probably have a few Scrum teams or even lots of Scrum teams, along with some departments of individuals that use an ad hoc or plan-driven approach. Maybe you've got project managers dealing with the organization and the complexity. Your organization has tried by the book Scrum. You've attempted to implement Agile and either it didn't work, didn't stick, or didn't deliver value. And someone said, we have to try scaled Agile. Maybe you've read Scaling Lean and Agile Development by Craig Larman or Leffingwell's Scaled Agile Framework or Ambler's Disciplined Agile Delivery or the new scaling Scrum that Scrum Org or Scrum Alliance, sorry, I always get those confused. I don't remember which, or maybe one of the other scaling approaches. But now, or maybe in the midst of all that, someone thinks that maybe there's a tooling problem and maybe there's some better tooling will solve their woes, whether it be due to agile or scale issues or otherwise. A well-known failure mode, though, for business process automation is to automate a broken process. The same goes for tooling up value stream management. If you have an overly complex value stream, immobilized with dependencies, if you have a clumsy way to move work from ideation to engineering, or disagreements over who has power over the plan, or if you're organized by departments of specialists focused on architectural layers, then trying to tool up your value stream to make it visible is a waste of time and money. In my days of consulting, I've often seen problems in software development that stem from departments of a certain skill, functionally organized, matrix across multiple projects. Let me give a little quote from Learning to See by Mike Rother. Because companies tend to be organized by departments and functions instead of by the flow of value-creating steps for product families, you often find that, surprise, no one is responsible for the value stream perspective. It is astoundingly rare to visit a facility and find one person who knows the entire material information flow for a product. Yet without this, parts of the flow will be left to chance, meaning that individual process areas will operate in a way that is optimum from their perspective, not the value stream's perspective. To get away from isolated islands of functionality, you need one person with lead responsibility for understanding a product family's value stream and improving it. Well, I love that quote. I don't completely subscribe to the notion of having just one person. That will be a topic for another day. But this, where he says, by get away from the isolated islands, they don't mean to keep the islands and to connect them somehow, to bridge the gaps. But too often, that's what I see companies try to do with their software development teams. In my consulting days, I saw companies try to deal with that with project management and by sophisticated tooling. Sophisticated, of course, being a euphemism for complicated. They would think that the problem is deficiencies in their current ALM tool and lack of a portfolio management solution. Now, they might indeed need to replace their agile lifecycle management and add portfolio management, but that's not the cause of their problem, and replacing their ALM won't solve anything. If they replace their tooling first, in fact, their existing processes and their existing org structures will become further entrenched via the analysis and effort expended in that tooling effort. It'll become cemented or embodied in the tool. That's not what I recommend we do in software organizations. Rather, I'd redesign the organization to get rid of the islands and form product-focused teams and or feature teams that are more closely aligned to the business, as in a line of business for IT or closely aligned with the market for an ISV. You need to form engineering teams that are capable of delivering business value. You'll also need to have program or product owner teams to feed backlog to those engineering teams. You may certainly, in a larger organization, need a portfolio team and a strategy team to set prioritization across all the programs. But a key point here is that a large organization is going to have a diverse set of technologies. And so therefore, you're going to need component teams as well. I'll explain more about this in a moment. But such an engineering team should be capable of taking a chunk of business value, a small epic, and develop, test, and deliver it with very few, if any, dependencies on other teams. Now, how you define business value in this case should be very close to how the customer would define value. It's okay to have some component teams or service teams, however, to provide value to multiple other teams, but organized to have few of those. So the reason why you need this is that at some level of scale, you can't get a small Scrum team with 6 to 8 people who are sufficiently proficient in the dozens of technologies used by your many hundred-person software development or IT organization. At some level of scale, you're going to need component teams as well as feature teams. So make these cross-functional teams, make them as cross-functional as it makes sense, given your particular degree of scale and diversity of technologies. Also, because dependencies kill Agile, you should have a rule that feature and product teams can only make release or schedule or date commitments based on the services that are already available. A more risky approach would be to make commitments based on service enhancements that are in plan and are scheduled for near-term availability. But know the history of that team's delivery. Look at their metrics. Know whether they're reliable or not. Now, the riskiest approach would be to inject your requests into the service team's backlog and project manage the deliveries or the dependencies, and try to land your delivery and theirs in the same sprint or the same release. The more you do that, the more you need to staff these component teams and design their processes so that they have lots of slack, low WIP, low work in process, and short lead time. In any event, it's best if everyone on a cross-functional team can have the same manager. Testers, developers, database, UI, backend, tech pubs, docs, whatever else is in your cross-functional team, give them one manager. But who the manager isn't the deciding factor. Don't form your teams around manager. Don't start with the manager. As stated above, form cross-functional teams around business capabilities, then find a capable manager who can manage a team of diverse skill sets. Instead of one who only knows how to manage one skill set, You don't want a manager who only knows how to manage developers or only knows how to manage testers. So let me state this again. Form good cross-functional teams without regard to management. Don't start with your existing managers and your existing departments and try to form that into good agile teams. Now, if you must matrix manage your team such that people on a team report to different managers, ensure that the business, the product management, is the strong side of the matrix, not the engineering management. All of these things reduce the number of real value streams that have to be managed, and also makes the management of those value streams easier. An idea here is value streams versus development streams. Development streams are less specific, meaning the teams are not necessarily organized around business value. They're not product focused. That makes the whole topic of managing a value stream more difficult. The true business value stream as distinguished from any old dev stream. Now, small teams that can control their own destiny and operate independently can be a good place to get to. But in building that, don't lose focus on making teams that can create and deliver business value with as few dependencies on other teams as possible. Don't lose the feature teams, teams that can assemble and deliver the business value. Now, having done that, seeing value move and managing the value stream becomes much easier. Done well, your portfolio team can have a Kanban of epics in which the status of those epics is clear instead of complicated. This is because there'll be few teams involved or fewer teams involved in building those epics. The portfolio team will be able to see these epics move across their Kanban regularly. They should all slide over a column every month or 3. You don't need a sophisticated value stream management console because it's so simple. Whatever tool they have their epics in will most likely already have a cumulative flow diagram and information on lead time, flow time, cycle time for their epics. That's the level at which they need to manage, and all the info they need is more often able to be managed in a single tool. This is once you rationalize your value streams. It's the same way all the way down at the program level, at the delivery team level as well. When features map to sprints and when velocity is stable and dependencies are few, each engineering team can understand their own process and they can manage their own value stream with whatever simple tool they happen to be using at that level. Integration has its place, tooling integration, even in messed up situations, and ConnectALL sells a tool, so by all means, I encourage you to buy it. And it can be a useful tactic to help deal with a messed up and hard to understand value stream. But integration and value stream management platforms will not automatically fix your problems. Value stream management doesn't happen just because you've bought a value stream management platform. Value stream management is a human endeavor. Only humans can do value stream management. Value stream management begins with understanding your system, the people, the tools, the organization, the throughput and the WIP, the process. Value stream management then continues by reasoning about a future state that you want to move to. Then you can use the Toyota Kata and the scientific method and move to the organization's future goals step by step, and adjusting that desired future state as you go. Let's go back to this Rother quote from Learning to See. To get away from the isolated islands of functionality, you need one person with lead responsibility for understanding a product family's value stream and improving it. We call this person a value stream manager and suggest that in this capacity, they report to the top person at your site. This way, they will have the power necessary to help change happen. You might call the guy who figures out that reorg a value stream manager, or maybe a lean and agile consultant. or a process reengineering team, or process improvement team, business excellence team, or possibly even an alert business architect. The directors and VPs in charge, if they have experience and the time and the interest with this type of work, they can make it happen. But many organizations do need a good outside consultant or help with real process experience and a process to make that organizational change and true ability. You see, value stream management is a human endeavor. Tools don't manage your value stream for you. And managing a value stream is more than working in it, making the best use of it, and saying it is what it is. This human endeavor of managing a value stream is proactive. I know this is a big challenge, but it's worth tackling. I'll leave you with some useful references. Thank you for participating. I hope you have a wonderful day.